Ever work twice as hard as someone else only to watch them get the reward? Ever play by the rules while rule breakers got ahead? Ever do everything right and still end up with nothing, while others who did everything wrong ended up with everything? So why does fairness seem like a lie the world tells you while it does the opposite? I am about to destroy a belief that has been crippling you your entire life. The belief in fairness, the idea that if you work hard, play by the rules, and do the right thing, you'll get what you deserve. This belief isn't just wrong. It is the most expensive lie you've ever believed. You stayed late while they left early and got promoted. You were loyal while they hopped to double their salary. You saved while they borrowed and now they have more. You told the truth while they told people what they wanted to hear and built better relationships. You waited your turn while they cut in line and got there first. You know what happened? You lost. Because you believed in fairness. But here is what is going to change everything. 500 years ago, Machiavelli saw through the fairness illusion that still traps millions of people today. He understood that the world doesn't reward what you deserve. It rewards what you position yourself to receive. And those two things are almost never the same. What if I told you that fairness is a story told by the powerful to keep the powerless patient? That waiting for what you deserve is a strategy designed to make sure you never get it? That the most successful people in history didn't get what they deserved. They took what they positioned themselves to take. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why fairness is a trap and how it has been used against you. What actually determines who gets what in this world. And most importantly, how to stop waiting for what you deserve and start getting what you want. Are you ready to kill the belief that has been killing your potential? Drop this affirmation in the comments. I reject the fairness lie. Number 1. The fairness lie and who profits from it. Let's start by understanding where the fairness belief comes from and who benefits from you believing it. Because this isn't an accident. The fairness narrative was constructed, and it was constructed for a reason. From childhood, you were programmed, share with others, wait your turn. Good things come to those who wait. Hard work pays off. Cheaters never prosper. Play fair and you'll be rewarded. These messages came from parents, teachers, and every story you consumed. By adulthood, fairness was wired into your operating system. But here is what you weren't told. The people at the top of every system, the ones making the rules, the ones distributing the rewards, they don't believe in fairness. They believe in outcomes. They believe in leverage. They believe in positioning. Fairness is what they preach to keep you compliant while they practice something entirely different. Machiavelli saw this clearly. He wrote, "How one lives is so far distant from how one ought to live that he who neglects what is done for what ought to be done sooner affects his ruin than his preservation." In plain terms, focusing on how things should be rather than how they are will destroy you. Fairness is about how things should be. Success is about how things are. Think about who benefits when you believe in fairness. Your employer benefits because you'll accept lower pay while waiting for the raise you deserve. Your competitors benefit because you'll play by rules they're ignoring. The system benefits because you'll stay patient and compliant rather than demanding or taking what you want. Everyone benefits from your fairness belief, except you. Here is the brutal truth. Fairness is a coordination mechanism for society, not a description of reality. We teach fairness because societies function better when most people play fair. But the rewards don't go to the fair players. They go to the strategic players who understand when to follow rules and when to transcend them. The fairness lie keeps you waiting. Waiting for the promotion they'll give to someone who asked for it. Waiting for the relationship that'll come when someone pursues it. Waiting for the opportunity that'll arrive when someone creates it. While you are waiting for fair, others are making moves. And they're getting what you thought you deserved. Here is the cruelest part of the fairness lie. It makes you judge yourself by the wrong criteria. You evaluate your worth based on what you deserve rather than what you've achieved. You feel righteous in your failure because you played fair. But righteousness doesn't pay rent. Feeling deserving doesn't build a life. The comfort of moral superiority becomes a substitute for actual success. Watch how the fairness lie operates in real time. Someone gets promoted who played politics better than you. The fairness believer says it is not fair. They didn't deserve it, and stays resentful in the same position. The strategic thinker says interesting. That is how promotion works here, and starts building relationships with decision makers. Same event, completely different outcomes. This isn't cynicism. It is clarity. The world isn't fair, and pretending it is just makes you easier to exploit. The question isn't whether this is right or wrong. The question is whether you'll keep losing because you refuse to see it. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I see the game clearly. Number 2. What actually determines who gets what? If fairness doesn't determine outcomes, what does? Understanding this is the key to finally getting what you want, instead of waiting for what you deserve. The first determinant is positioning. Where you stand determines what you can reach. The person positioned near opportunity gets the opportunity, regardless of whether they deserve it more than someone positioned farther away. The person positioned near power gets access to power. The person positioned near resources gets resources. Merit is secondary to proximity. The second determinant is leverage. What can you offer that others can't easily get elsewhere? What would people lose if you withdrew? What pressure can you apply? The person with leverage gets better terms than the person without, regardless of who deserves more. Your leverage or lack of it determines your outcomes more than your effort ever will. The third determinant is perception. Not who you are, but who others think you are. Not what you've done, but what others believe you've done. The person perceived as valuable gets treated as valuable. The person perceived as dispensable gets treated as dispensable. Perception management isn't vanity, it is survival strategy. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. The appearance of merit often matters more than merit itself. The appearance of power often matters more than power itself. This isn't how it should be, but it is how it is." The fourth determinant is timing. The same action at different times produces completely different results. The same request at different moments gets completely different responses. The person who moves at the right moment succeeds. The person who moves at the wrong moment fails, and the right moment has nothing to do with what is fair. The fifth determinant is relationships. Not what you know, but who you know and how they feel about you. The person with the right relationships gets opportunities that never reach the open market. They get information before it is public. They get support when they need it. Relationships aren't just nice to have. They're how things actually work. The sixth determinant is persistence. Not the gentle persistence of waiting, but the aggressive persistence of continuing to move despite obstacles. The person who keeps positioning keeps building leverage, keeps managing perception, keeps timing their moves, keeps building relationships. They eventually break through. The person who tries once and then waits for fairness, waits forever. Notice what is missing from this list. Desert, merit, fairness. What you deserve. These things matter far less than we're taught to believe. The determinants of who gets what are positioning, leverage, perception, timing, relationships, and persistence. Master these and you'll get what you want regardless of what you deserve. Ignore these, and you'll deserve things forever without getting them. Here is what makes this even more frustrating for fairness believers. Sometimes the people with the best positioning, leverage, and perception are also the most deserving. And sometimes they're not even close. The system doesn't discriminate. It rewards what it rewards regardless of underlying merit. The deserving person with bad positioning loses to the undeserving person with good positioning every time. This is why complaining about unfairness is the emptiest response. Yes, it is unfair, and complaining changes nothing. The person who got what you deserved isn't going to give it back because you point out they didn't deserve it. The system isn't going to change because you identify its flaws. The only productive response is to learn the actual determinants and start mastering them. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I master what matters. Number 3. The resentment trap that keeps you stuck. Here is something crucial you need to understand. The fairness lie doesn't just cost you success. It poisons your psychology with resentment that makes success even harder to achieve. When you believe in fairness and the world doesn't deliver it, what happens? You become resentful. You see others succeeding and think they don't deserve it. You see yourself struggling and think you deserve better. This resentment feels justified because you are judging reality against your fairness expectations. But the resentment itself becomes your prison. Here is how resentment keeps you stuck. First, it makes you focus on what others have, rather than what you are building. Your attention is consumed by unfairness rather than opportunity. You become an expert on why things are wrong rather than how to make them right. Second, resentment makes you bitter, and bitter people are hard to help. Opportunities flow toward people with positive energy. They flow away from people radiating grievance. Your resentment becomes a repellent that pushes away the very opportunities you need. Third, resentment gives you permission to stop trying. If the game is rigged, why play? If success isn't about merit, why develop merit? If fairness doesn't exist, why bother? Resentment becomes a rationalization for stagnation. You are not failing because you stop trying. You stop trying because the game is unfair. Machiavelli wrote, "Whoever desires to found a state and give it laws must start with assuming that all men are bad and ever ready to display their vicious nature." This sounds cynical, but it is actually liberating. When you stop expecting fairness and start expecting reality, resentment becomes impossible. You can't resent people for being what they are. The escape from the resentment trap is accepting reality without moral judgment. Others got ahead unfairly. Okay, that is data about how the world works. You didn't get what you deserved. Okay, that is motivation to change your strategy. Fairness doesn't exist. Okay, now you can stop waiting for it and start working with what is. This acceptance isn't passive resignation. It is strategic clarity. You stop wasting energy on grievance and start investing it in positioning. You stop cataloging unfairness and start building leverage. You stop expecting the world to be fair and start making the world work for you. The resentment that comes from fairness expectations is one of the most expensive emotions you can carry. It costs you opportunities, relationships, energy, and time. Let it go. Not because the unfairness wasn't real, but because the resentment serves only those who benefit from your stagnation. Here is a practice for releasing resentment. When you catch yourself thinking it is not fair, replace it with "how do I change my position?" When you catch yourself thinking they don't deserve that, replace it with "how did they get that?" When you catch yourself thinking "I deserve better," replace it with "what would make me positioned to receive better?" These substitutions redirect resentment energy into strategic analysis. A truly free person holds no resentment because they hold no fairness expectations. They see the world as it is, a competitive environment where positioning matters more than deserving. In that accurate worldview, there is nothing to resent. Only situations to navigate. Only games to learn. Only positions to improve. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I release all resentment. Number 4. The strategic mindset that replaces fairness. Now let's build the mindset that actually produces results. The strategic mindset that sees reality clearly and works with it rather than against it. This is how the people who get what they want actually think. The strategic mindset asks different questions. Instead of "is this fair?" it asks "does this work?" Instead of "do I deserve this?" it asks "how do I position for this?" Instead of "why did they get that?" it asks "how can I get that?" These questions lead to action rather than resentment. Here is the first principle of strategic thinking. Value is not inherent. It is perceived. You don't have an objective value that the world should recognize. You have a perceived value that you can actively shape. Instead of waiting for others to see your worth, shape how they see you. Market yourself. Position your accomplishments, control your narrative. The second principle: relationships are investments, not entitlements. You are not owed opportunities because you are skilled. You get opportunities because people who can provide them know you, like you, and think of you when opportunities arise. This requires deliberate relationship building, not just being good at your job and hoping to be noticed. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that he who deceives will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived." The strategic mind doesn't deceive, but it understands that others often take things at face value. Present yourself strategically, and people will respond to that presentation. The third principle: timing multiplies everything. The same action at the wrong time fails. The same action at the right time succeeds spectacularly. Strategic thinkers are always watching for windows. When is the organization making decisions? When is the person most receptive? When is the market most ready? Timing isn't luck, it is pattern recognition. The fourth principle: leverage must be built before it is needed. When you need something, your leverage is at its lowest. You are coming from desperation. The time to build leverage is when you don't need it. Build skills when you have a job. Build relationships when you don't need favors. Build options when you are not forced to choose. The fifth principle: every no is data, not judgment. When you are rejected, you haven't failed. You've received information. The strategic mind analyzes rejection. What was missing? What could be repositioned? What timing might work better? Rejection is feedback to be processed, not a verdict to be accepted. The sixth principle: patience is strategic, not passive. Strategic patience isn't waiting for fairness. It is positioning while waiting for the right moment. It is building while waiting for the opening. It is preparing while waiting for the window. Patient strategy is full of activity. It just isn't visible yet. This mindset doesn't care about fair. It cares about effective. It doesn't care about deserving. It cares about getting. It doesn't care about how things should be. It cares about how things are and how to work within that reality. This is the mindset that gets what it wants. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I think strategically. Number 5. The practical rules for getting what you want. Now let's get concrete. Here are the practical rules that translate strategic thinking into strategic action. These are the rules that people who get what they want follow, whether they admit it or not. Rule 1. Ask for what you want directly. Most people hint. Most people wait. Most people hope others will notice what they deserve. The people who get what they want ask for it explicitly. The raise, the opportunity, the relationship, the help. They ask clearly, and they ask repeatedly until they get it or get a definitive no. Rule 2. Make yourself difficult to replace before making demands. Leverage comes from being needed. Before you ask for more, make sure they'd suffer from losing you. Develop skills others don't have. Take on responsibilities others avoid. Build relationships others can't access. Then your requests carry weight. Rule 3. Control information strategically. Don't share your plans with people who might undermine them. Don't reveal your leverage until you need to use it. Don't broadcast your next move to those who might block it. Information is power, and power shouldn't be given away freely. Machiavelli advised, never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. In modern context, don't force outcomes when you can engineer them. Don't demand when you can position. Don't confront when you can maneuver. The smoothest path to what you want is often the one nobody sees you walking. Rule 4. Create options before you need them. Have other job offers before asking for a raise. Have other buyers before negotiating with one. Have other dates before committing to one. Options create power. Power creates favorable terms. The person with no options accepts whatever they're given. Rule 5. Document everything you accomplish. Your achievements exist in others' memories only briefly. Then they fade. Keep a running record of every win, every contribution, every success. When it is time to negotiate, you have evidence. When it is time to move on, you have a portfolio. Memory is unreliable. Documentation is leverage. Rule 6. Be willing to walk away from anything. The person who can't walk away can be exploited indefinitely. The person who can walk away has automatic leverage. This requires building a life stable enough that no single job, relationship, or opportunity has power over you. The walk-away option is the ultimate negotiating position. Rule 7. Make helping you profitable for others. People help people who help them. Before asking for something, consider what you can offer. After receiving something, consider how you can reciprocate. The strategic web of mutual benefit creates sustainable support systems that fairness believers wait for but never build. These rules aren't about deserving. They're about getting. The world is full of people who deserve things they'll never receive because they don't follow these rules. It is also full of people getting things they arguably don't deserve because they do follow these rules. Which group do you want to be in? Rule 8. Promote yourself shamelessly. No one else is going to tell your story the way you need it told. Make your accomplishments visible. Ensure decision. Makers know what you've done. Send the updates, claim the credit. Those who wait to be noticed wait forever. Those who make themselves visible get seen. Rule 9. Study the people who have what you want, not to resent them but to reverse. Engineer their path. What did they do that you haven't? What relationships do they have that you don't? What positioning strategies did they use? Success leaves clues. Collect them. Use them. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I follow the rules that work. Number 6. The freedom on the other side of fairness. Let me paint you a picture of what life looks like when you finally let go of the fairness expectation. When you stop waiting for what you deserve and start taking what you want. This isn't a darker life. It is a freer one. First, you stop waiting. The paralysis of waiting for what you deserve ends. You start moving, positioning, asking, creating. Every day becomes a day of action rather than a day of patience for something that was never coming. Second, you stop resenting. The bitter cataloging of unfairness ends. When someone gets something through positioning rather than merit, you don't resent them. You learn from them. When you don't get something you deserved, you don't brood. You strategize for next time. Third, you start getting. The things you wanted but waited for start arriving because you are actively pursuing them. The raise you deserved comes because you asked and provided leverage. The opportunity you merited arrives because you positioned for it. Action produces what waiting never could. Fourth, you become harder to exploit. When you don't expect fairness, you can't be controlled by promises of fairness. When you don't wait for rewards, you can't be manipulated by delayed rewards. The strategic mindset makes you a harder target for those who profit from your compliance. Machiavelli wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The fool eventually learns that fairness doesn't exist, but only after years of waiting. The wise person learns immediately and starts operating strategically from day one. Fifth, paradoxically, you become more generous. When you are not tracking what is fair, you can give freely. When you are not resenting others' advantages, you can celebrate their success. When you are getting what you want, you have surplus to share. The strategic mindset often leads to more genuine generosity than the fairness mindset ever could. This is the freedom on the other side of fairness. Not cynicism, but clarity. Not coldness, but effectiveness. Not selfishness, but self-determination. You've stopped being a victim of an unfair world and started being an effective navigator of the real world. If you've made it this far, you are ready to hear the final truth. Fairness was never real. It was a story that kept you waiting, a story that kept you resentful, a story that kept you manageable. Today, that story ends. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. You get what you position for. You get what you have leverage to receive. You get what you ask for. You get what you take when taking is appropriate. Desert is irrelevant. Strategy is everything. If this video freed you from the fairness trap that has been holding you back, smash that like button. If you know someone still waiting for what they deserve, share this with them. And if you want more content that tells you the truth about how the world actually works, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Starting today, stop waiting, stop hoping, stop expecting the world to be what it should be. Start seeing what is. Start positioning for what you want. Start building the leverage that turns desire into reality. The fairness lie kept you patient while others took what you wanted. That ends now. The world isn't fair. Thank God. Because if it were, you'd be stuck with what you currently deserve. In an unfair world, you can get far more than you deserve through strategic positioning. The unfairness that hurt you can now help you. It all depends on whether you keep believing the lie or start playing the game. Now drop this final affirmation in the comments. I take what I want, because in a world where fairness doesn't exist, the person who stops waiting and starts strategizing holds all the power. Be that person, forget fairness, and watch how everything changes when you finally stop expecting what you deserve and start getting what you want.